Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button, leave a like down below. I was thinking about the AEW Fight Forever game and its current state, which isn't good. We finally got some sort of update with some bug fixes, and we got the Bunny and Keith Lee DLC right away after Stadium Stampede, but the way this thing's been going since launch, it had me thinking, I don't think this is Yuke's fault. I really don't think this is Yuke's or THQ's fault. I think this is whoever's in charge at AEW Games' fault. Now let me explain. What am I talking about, right? Well, Yuke's has been making wrestling games too long to make these mistakes in a wrestling game. The lack of creation parts, the lack of match types, the lackluster story mode, the fact that it doesn't have a pinning system in the works, it's just kind of rushed out there. I feel like whoever's in charge of AEW Games, which I'm guessing is Kenny Omega, great wrestler, great performer, but I think he's clueless when it comes to making video games. Who prioritizes mini games and a battle royale mode over match types, over the story mode, and over, for me, most importantly, the creation suite? To me, if you're going to make a wrestling game, the number one thing you should do is obviously gameplay, then match types, and then to really make the game last is have a super robust creation suite to keep people engaged with the game long enough for you to get out DLC, content, and other stuff. I feel like instead of demanding that they get Stadium Stampede done by the Wembley Stadium event, they should have focused on this other stuff. They shouldn't even release the game yet, basically. I know the pandemic had something to do with it. I know that other factors have had something to do with it, maybe funding. But I feel like I don't think this is Yuke's fault. They've made too many wrestling games to fumble this badly. So I don't think the hate should be directed at Yuke's. I don't think you should hate anything. I mean, it's just a video game at the end of the day. I know we're all passionate about this sort of thing. So I'm not saying go out there and get your pitchforks or anything, but I feel like the concern should be towards AEW Games. I feel like they got some clueless people over there that are like, oh yeah, we play video games. We know what the players want. I don't think you know jack. I think they should have left it up to Yuke's. Give them a list of things you want. Let's say you wanted mini games. That's fine. But that should not be a priority over the other features. Match types, creation parts, story mode, etc. And online. I mean, the online is really crappy too. I feel like because there's a lot of mini games. There's a lot. I feel like they spent too much time programming that, because even though those mini games are really, really short, they're so different from what the main game is. You still have to program that whole. It's all those little mini games are separate games, if I'm not mistaken, in how game design works. So you had to create all these little systems, which takes time, and takes time away from the mainline game, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how game design sounds like it works to me. So it's fine having mini games and a Stadium Stampede mode on paper, but not at the cost of the other modes. Now I'm repeating myself. I'm guessing the reason why they've been so silent, the reason why they haven't said anything, no roadmap, no nothing, is because they might be mad. Yuke's might be mad at AEW Games for forcing them to do these things. They probably told them, this is how we should make a good wrestling game, right? This is what makes a good wrestling game. And they're like, oh no, we want this, and this, and this. And since they're the paying customer, they're the ones paying Yuke's to make the game, that might be the case. I don't think this is THQ's fault. I don't think this is Yuke's fault. I think the blame solely lies on AEW Games. I have no sources. Nobody's talking to me. I'm just a small YouTuber. Literally, nobody talks to me. This is just speculation. I don't know how else the game could have fumbled so badly. What were you thinking? There's no way. Look at how many wrestling games Yuke's has made. They basically made all of the mainline PS2 games. They basically made WrestleMania 1918, Day of Reckoning, at least they helped with it, their names on it. I'm pretty sure they helped make, or did make, the Raw games on Xbox. They made Rumble Roses 1 and 2. They made the Galactic Wrestling, but I think that was Aki. They've made so many wrestling games. 20 plus years making wrestling games. There's no way, in my opinion, that they would make a game like that. Like, so incomplete, so, like, lackluster. There's just no way. Not on paper. I mean, you look at all the wrestling games they made in the 2K series and think back to the original SmackDown. Every modern wrestling game from SmackDown on has taken something from that game. The countering system, the way it's structured, that, and of course No Mercy. I feel like No Mercy and the SmackDown games are the engines that every other wrestling game has tried to copy and build off of, or do something similar to those ever since. So I don't think someone with that huge of a track record, that huge of a catalog of wrestling games, could make such poor decisions in a new wrestling game for the modern era. Maybe they have a clueless leader over there at Yuke's. I have no idea, but I feel like something's going on, and if it doesn't change, I feel like Yuke's might wash their hands of the AEW franchise also once this game is said and done, especially with how quiet they've been. I have no idea. Like, if Yuke's leaves, and when they're done with the AEW Fight Forever, hypothetically, let's say they leave, where do they go from here? Do they go back to WWE? I think the best case scenario for Yuke's, once they're done with AEW and they've met all their contractual, agreements, I think they should go back to WWE, not 2K. They should go to WWE directly and try to make a separate game, an arcade-style wrestling game, in the vein of All Stars, Battlegrounds, but good, and go that route, because then you have the WWE license, and you can really go nuts with it. They have a proven record with WWE. I think WWE would pay them, and they'd probably get a lot more funding too. And THQ could still be their publisher. I don't know how much of the WWE 2K, or I don't know how much of the WWE video games that 2K owns. I don't know if their license includes all WWE games, like nobody else can make a WWE game, or if it's only for the mainline game. Like, what's to stop another company like Yuke's, if they get away from AEW, to come in and make their own wrestling game, like an arcade-style wrestling game? And then that way, we can have some more options. We could have the mainline, simulation, 2K series, 2K24, 25, etc. And then we could have the arcade-style game that comes out once every couple of years to really give Yuke's the time to make an awesome wrestling game. And that first one they make, they could really milk it and keep it alive while we wait for the next 2K game, right? I don't know if they're afraid of cannibalizing sales of their mainline franchise, but from what I've done with my polls here and my questionnaires, a lot of you guys don't care about the over-the-top, zany, arcadey stuff. You guys just want your simulation wrestling games. So I think the sales will be fine. And I think a true WWE fan would buy into both. And then that would be more money for WWE. I would certainly buy both. I would love to have more than one wrestling game to play every year. And that would create competition within their own company to do better, to make the game better. Anyway, these are just one man's thoughts. Do you feel that Yuke's is the problem, or do you think it's AEW games like I do? And the reason why the game is in such a poor state is because the demands that AEW games placed upon Yuke's for this game. This is just one man's thoughts. Thank you for watching. Stay frothy.